that sense of a closed system, this idea of delicacy and beauty, and it's reflected in the art from this period, of course. And actually the inspiration for a lot of that comes from a form of decoration that is very popular in this time period. It's called rocaille. It actually is little seashells that are painted with these elaborate decorative patterns, like the one that you're seeing on your left. Those seashells are very, very popular. They're trendy for ladies' dressing tables. Now, in the common sense, how practical is that? Not at all. It has no purpose whatsoever. Okay, so why did... Well, because it's pretty. Welcome to the time period. That rocaille, that elaborate pattern, no practical purpose, just very pretty and decorated, becomes known as a style of art that we end up calling rococo. Now, rococo art has nothing to do with chocolate. Instead, it has to do with something being elaborately decorated, delicate, and focused completely on grace, beauty, and love. All of the things that are so much a part of the nobility's lives here as they begin to be really separated from ordinary day-to-day life. That style, that rococo style, focuses strictly on grace and beauty. It is elaborately decorated. Every possible available space has to have some kind of decoration on it. There should be no empty space on your walls, your ceiling, your floor. Everything should be decorated. And the artwork should focus on fanciful things, sometimes scenes from mythology, but ultimately all of that artwork is going to come back to the theme of love, because that is the ultimate goal for your nobility. They have nothing to worry about, really. They live in this padded world. The king believes the people love him and adore him. He believes that he is God's gift to them. The nobility believe that they have their position because that's where God wants them to be. They are secure. They are basically out of touch with reality, but they are interested only in grace, love, and in beauty. For example, these are several pictures from Louis's palace at Versailles. These are walls and ceilings. Yeah. Everything is covered in decoration. Yeah, that stuff that looks like it's covered in gold, do you know why it looks that way? Hey, yeah, it's covered in gold. Every surface is covered in these scenes of mythology, these fanciful scenes focusing on love and beauty. Everything is decorated to be pretty for your nobility. Even churches completely change their appearance. Instead of large, impressive churches being dedicated to focusing on the glory of God and impressing people, showing how God touches common people. Remember that, Baroque art? Instead, your churches are going to go rococo. For example, love saying this word, the Versenheiligen. Beautiful rococo church, but if you look at the interior of the church, oh my gosh, it looks like a wedding cake. Everything in the church is decorated. It's all done in pastel and light colors, nothing too dark. That might be shocking. Everything is decorated. There are a lot of babies, fat puffy babies, cupids, little angels. Everything is focused on grace and beauty. The church itself does not focus on getting a message out to common people because they're not interested in the common people. Instead, they are interested in grace, beauty, elegance, and love. And they are interested in hiring artists who are the best. Why? Well, because having an artist that skilled shows off how important you are because, well, you've got the best artist. It's all a matter of competition. The wealthiest, the most powerful, can afford the fanciest artists. So the rich and powerful hire artists specifically to show off how talented the artist is. If you remember when I talked about the toccatas, those show-off pieces of music that were not intended to focus on worshiping God, they were intended to show off how good the person playing was. Well, welcome to that same thing in painting and sculpture. Rococo art is about showing off how talented the artist is so that the person who hired him can show off how rich they are to have hired the most talented artist. It's all about showing off. Perhaps the best way I can explain that to you is to take you to a small chapel in Italy. That chapel, known as the Cappella San Servo, is probably one of the most remarkable, impressive, and creepy examples of Rococo art that I can show you. Now, the Cappella San Servo is actually built and paid for by a wealthy family known as the De Sangro family. The gentleman who really sponsors most of the artwork for this and spends a great deal of time working in a secret workshop under the floor of the Cappella San Servo, yes, you heard that right, we'll get back to that, is actually a young noble by the name of Raimondo de Sangro. There you go, meet Raimondo. Now, Raimondo is a brilliant young noble. Yeah, he's better looking than Louis, not that that takes much. However, he is, again, very much involved in this idea that God handpicked the nobility. He believes he's very special and his family are special. And he is interested in bettering himself. Raimondo de Sangro is a very intelligent young man, and he wants to use that intelligence. He's fascinated with science, and he's fascinated with the extremes of art. He hires artists to decorate his family's chapel who are Rococo artists, the best of the best. Not to honor God, not to get across a message, but to show off their skill and talent. For example, one of the amazing and sort of creepy statues he puts into place here is called the Veiled Truth. She's sometimes called Modesty. She's also sometimes called Chastity. Now, the amazing thing about this statue is the fact that, like several other statues in the Cappella San Servo, she's veiled. Her entire body is covered in this fine gauze. And the artist who actually carved it, Antonio Corradini, actually manages to create the illusion that there is a cloth over a body. This is a rock, guys. It's a statue. And yet look at the illusion, the detail that he creates in this cloth-wrapped image of Modesty, who actually is not modest at all. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, nipples. He manages to create this illusion of depth, of marble acting like something else. Now, what makes this really creepy? I told you it was slightly creepy. What makes this really creepy? This is actually a portrait of Raimondo de Sangro's mother. Yeah, ain't that awesome? But this skill and artistry here is amazing. Again, same place, Cappella San Servo, different statue representing a different version, a different virtue, rather. This statue is by an artist named Chiarolo. It is called the Release from Deception or Deception Unmasked. You will see that the man in the sculpture is being released from the net of lies or deception by an angel. Now, here's the kicker. Here's why it's a Rococo work of art. You see that statue? You see that net? That's all carved out of a single block of marble. No, I'm not kidding. The artist, Chiarolo, is actually talented and skilled enough to create an open work net carved out of a block of stone. This is Rococo. This is a show-off piece. This is not intended to teach some deep moral lesson. This is all about showing off the artist's skills and showing off what a great patron Raimondo de Sangro is, in that he chooses artists who are this talented and able to pull off this kind of extreme sculpting, if you will. Now, the centerpiece of the Cappella San Servo, right smack dab in the middle of it, is another beautiful example of Rococo sculpture. It's the sculpture of the Veiled Christ by Giuseppe San Martino. Again, if you look, you can see that this is the dead body of Christ swathed in a fine sheet that wrinkles and pulls over the surface of the body. It is absolutely breathtaking in the detail and the realism that San Martino manages to get out of this block of stone. Let me show you from a different angle here. That image of Christ is so beautifully detailed. It has texture. You can almost see the texture of the hair curling over his ear. And yet that, buried underneath this blanket which clings and folds to the body, is completely carved out of marble. Being able to create that illusion of depth and material shows off the artist's skill. It is a rococo artwork because it is about grace, about beauty, about elaborate detail, and about showing off the skill and wisdom of the patron to be able to hire an artist with that kind of insane skills. Now, there's a great deal of argument about Raimondo de Sangro himself, the guy who hired these artists. At the time, Raimondo de Sangro is reputed to be a warlock. He is a high-ranking Mason, and he does dabble in a lot of mysterious scientific work. Now, today we hear he's a scientist, and we go, brilliant scientist. Well, yeah, but we're in the 1750s here, and brilliant scientist doesn't necessarily mean the same thing it does now. Raimondo de Sangro's workshop is actually underneath the Cappella de Sangro, or the Cappella San Servo, rather, excuse me. If you go down there, you can go down there. It's part of the tour. If you go down there, you'll see some things Raimondo de Sangro was working on. They're called his machines. Behold the machines. Yes, that's a male cadaver and a female cadaver. Yes, the female cadaver is pregnant. Yes, all of their veins are preserved. Their entire circulatory system is perfectly preserved, including the baby's circulatory system, and the baby's skull is actually hinged, so you can open it up and see the circulation inside the skull as well. How were these done? We're still not entirely sure, but my goodness, the entire concept really creeps us out. They are actually displayed, posed, underneath the chapel floor. Do we have an idea how they were done? Yes, there are several different theories, but I'm not telling them to you because they're a possible section project in case you choose to do your Baroque section project as one of your 2 required section projects for this class. Now, fun. All right, so you have Domus de Sangro dabbling here in crazy, weird science. How can he get away with this? Well, because he's nobility. He's treated differently. De Sangro's focus is very muchly Rococo, even though these pieces are not Rococo. Oh my gosh, this is not focused on grace, beauty, and love. Instead, we end up with most of our artworks looking a lot like this. This is one of the best-known Rococo pieces. It's by an artist named Jean-Baptiste Fragonard. It is called The Swing. And again, it is a complete focus on grace, love, and beauty done in pastels. The idea here is that a young woman is being pushed on a swing by her priest and confessor behind her. Yeah, he's pushing her on the swing. Yeah, he's just her priest. Sure he is. She's kicking off one shoe, and she's flirting. Because if you look, her lover, lying down there on the grass in front of her, can see up her skirt, and he can see all the way. This is about grace, love, and beauty. This is about flirtation and sex. This is about what the nobles do for most of their lives. Now, this idea of innocence, joy, freedom, love is perhaps one of the best examples of Rococo style. The focus here is completely on grace and love. There's nothing practical here. It is that delicate, perfected beauty, one step removed from reality. Is it lovely? Oh, yes, absolutely it is. It's all about beauty, about delicacy. This painting, if you go online and look around, there's actually a new updated version of this painting. This painting was one of the primary inspirations for the look, the design of Walt Disney's animated film Tangled, because they wanted that sense of ultimate grace, beauty, and delicacy. And this picture was the perfect example of those themes. Rococo art is all about that grace and beauty, keeping the nobility immersed in this world of delicate unreality, one step separated from the real world, focused on elegance and beauty. There is an artist named Watteau who specializes in this Rococo type of art. He creates this image, the Pilgrimage to Cythera. It's sometimes called Journey to Cythera or Return from Cythera as well. The focus here is on the island of Cythera. The island of Cythera is an island in the Mediterranean. It is, according to tradition, where Venus landed when she surfed in on her clamshell. Her birth supposedly brought her here, and supposedly the island of Cythera is the first places that flowers bloom, that roses bloom, because it is where Venus sets foot, and everywhere that Venus sets foot, her signature flower, the rose, blossoms and grows. Now, pilgrimage to Cythera here reflects something that young people really do in the 1700s. For fun, young people take cruises. Today we take cruises like to the Bahamas. They take cruises to the island of Cythera. Really? Yeah, really. What are they doing there? Well, they're worshiping love. You can figure out how they do that on your own. I'm not going to explain that part. They take pilgrimages to the island of Cythera to honor love. Again, totally wacky, not real world practical, but this is Rococo, so that's perfectly okay. In the image, you will see all these young men and women, beautifully, elaborately dressed in the finest of clothing. You will see a spiral of little cupids going up at your left-hand side, blessing their love. On the right-hand side, you will see a statue of Venus with roses climbing up the side of the statue, again, focusing on grace, love, and beauty, their honoring of the goddess of love, of Venus. The young people themselves are clad in extremely elaborate, beautiful time period clothing. The focus here is on their grace and beauty. There is nothing practical about this painting at all. It is intended to show off love, romance, beauty, delicacy, power. This is intended to show off how pretty, how luxurious the nobility are. Has nothing to do with the practical world because, well, they don't have anything to do with the practical world. It is that separation from the practical world epitomized in a painting. Even when the nobility have paintings done for their homes, they often use mythology. Now, mythology is real serious, right? I mean, gods, goddesses, battles, war. No, actually not in the Rococo world. In the Rococo world, when they have mythology reflected in their painting, they have paintings like this one. Ready? Ta-da! This is Cupid a Captive by Boucher. Art critics have described this as pink mounds of puffy flesh, and yeah, that does it pretty much. You'll see that the entire painting, again, is highly decorated, lots of detail, very delicate pastel colors, nothing too bright, that might be shocking. You have lots of little fat angels around. You have Venus there with several nymphs, and they've managed to take Cupid's bow and arrow away from him so he can't do his work. Ooh, 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 his work is shooting people to make them fall in love. But he can't even do that. He can't shoot people to make them fall in love. Instead, they have him reclining. And they're decorating him with flowers. Another Boucher painting. This is Leda and the Swan. Again, mythology. Actually, a very violent part of Greek mythology. What's happening here is Zeus actually is coming to Leda in the form of a swan, and he's going to rape her. However, if you look at Boucher's rendering, you're going to see there's not a whole lot of scary violence going on. Instead, you have two very well-fed females kind of cooing over this swan who looks like it's hissing at them. Again, all pastel, no dark colors. Everything is beautiful and idealized. And I've got to make a mention here, because some of you guys are going, those women are you know, reasonably Rubenesque. They're fairly large. That's actually important to the fact that this is Rococo, because Rococo is commissioned by the nobles, the wealthy and powerful. This is, again, another sign of that separation, that division I'm going to keep pounding on. The separation between the wealthy and powerful and the ordinary, quote-unquote, folks. The ordinary folks, your farmers, your shepherds, your basic workers, are struggling to get food. Most of them are malnourished. Some of them are literally starving to death. They are struggling to survive from day to day. Most of them are extremely thin. Some of them actually have bulging stomachs because they are so malnourished. They are struggling to get food. The wealthy and powerful tend to be more like what you're seeing in this picture. They are they have a lot of flesh, let's put it on that way. Today they're what we would call borderline obese. That is the ultimate standard of beauty for the 1750s. They want that extra flesh. They do not want someone who is thin. They would find our standard of beauty disgusting because they believe that that ability to be a little bit heftier actually is gorgeous because that means you're rich. That means you have wealth and power. You can afford to have enough food to be a little overweight. That also means you're more likely to have children that will survive because you are well nourished and healthy. The standard of beauty is different here. What you're seeing is their ultimate consideration of what is beautiful and gorgeous. One last rococo picture for you here. Again, Boucher. We are looking here at Boucher's version of a shepherd and shepherdess. Now, the reason I want to show you this one and the next picture is because I want to reinforce something. The wealthy and powerful have grown up being told that they are handpicked to be nobility, that they are handpicked to be kings and queens, and that God loves them. They are higher on the chain of being than the normal people. They have been raised totally separated from day-to-day life. And when those wealthy and powerful people are asked, how do the common people live? What do common people look like? This is their answer, what you're looking at right here. This is a common shepherd and shepherdess. This is how the ordinary people live in the minds of the wealthy. Is this realistic? Oh my goodness gracious, no. Ordinary people are struggling. They're malnourished. They're dirty. They have to struggle for the basic necessities of daily life. But from the point of view of the wealthy and powerful, this is what their lives look like. They live in luxury with time to feed each other fresh fruit. They have happy, clean sheep. There is fresh flowing water around them, remnants from the Greek and Roman cultures. They live in beautiful circumstances close to nature. No, really, they don't. But this is how the wealthy and powerful see them. Again, another artist, Thomas Gainsborough. His Haymaker and Sleeping Girl is again a perfect example of what I'm talking about. This is how the wealthy view the ordinary people. And when you ask those wealthy people, how do the ordinary people live? This is their answer. This bizarre view that they are healthy, wholesome, clean, is really how the rich and powerful, the nobility, the kings see their people. They really don't believe that their lifestyle in any way damages their nation. They really believe that keeping themselves happy benefits their people and that their people live good lives thanks to them and their happiness. That is weird but to us, but yet is so important for you to understand what happens next. As we head into the 1770s and into the area of revolution, both in America and in Europe, you have to understand that these wealthy and powerful people are not being purposely cruel, purposely stupid. They really do not understand. They have lived lives of luxury, and their fathers lived lives of luxury. Their grandfathers lived lives of luxury. And they are so separated from reality that they honestly believe they are higher on the chain of being than normal people, and they really can't understand why people are unhappy. It is not cruelty. It is not stupidity. It is ignorance. It is lack of understanding. And that is what is going to come back and break the world into a new shape, a shape that will lead us to the modern age.